This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we review the epic space opera that is Dune. Plus, we take a look at the trailer for Uncharted, early reactions to the Eternals movie, casting news for Star Wars, Batgirl, the John Wick prequel series, and more, all in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, October 25th, 2021.
Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. Why? I don't know.
Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Jock it, we nerd it. We funny, disturb it. We jock it, we nerd it. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah!
That's right. What's up? Hello, listener, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd Podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's the nerd.
And joining us, representing House Atreides Nuts, it's Duke Rug Boy. How's it going, Rugs?
Atreides nuts, motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay, we got the nuts. Get the nuts joke out of the way right at the top. Good work there, fellas.
Yeah,
We're
I
good.
expected them to say it at least once in the movie, but they didn't.
Yeah, no, every time I was kind of giggling when I was like,
Like,
hey,
I
come
just
on,
wanted, like, a
trade D's what?
I
D's?
wanted to say it in the theater. I wasn't at the theater. I saw it in my house, but I was saying it in my house.
That's that house's battle
Atreides
cry.
nuts.
Yeah, they run into battle going, Atreides nuts! And everybody runs scared. Anyways, enough about these nuts. We got a lot to talk about and review. Let's get into it.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
I want to start with a trailer for a movie featuring Tom Holland that is not Spider-Man.
Oh shit.
It's Uncharted, the long-awaited trailer to the video game adaptation of Uncharted. Their first trailer came out, and right away, can I just say someone needs to make a spoof of this called Unfarted? Can we get that done? They should be working on that.
How do you unfart?
I don't know. That's why we need a movie about it. Somebody clever will figure it out.
Like, do you suck the air back into your asshole?
Yes, maybe it's a deadly thing. It goes back in and it kills you. You're got unfarted, and you don't want that to happen to you. Anyways.
I mean, it sounds like I can find that on YouPorn or something. Like, I can fucking look that up somewhere.
So, yes, that's what I kept thinking about.
What a start to this show.
Back to the Uncharted, of course, starring Tom Holland as very young Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, and the Antonio Banderas also in this movie.
That's what sold the movie for me, is Antonio Banderas.
So, first of all, let's just get out there. I believe we have all played the game. I think I've played it the least amongst the three of you.
Right.
Yes.
And I played it just recently during the pandemic because PlayStation had released like the first 4 games for free.
Geek boner.
It's amazing. And I started playing the first one and I got to a hard part and I quit and I haven't gone back. So that's usually what happens.
Sounds like Imran.
Yeah, that's usually always what happens.
It's like,
with
I'm
me.
just going to go to YouTube and watch someone else beat
Yeah,
it.
I'll get back to it at some point. But so I played it for a certain amount of hours. How many hours would you guys say you have played the Uncharted, Anthony?
I think I've only done the second and the third one. I haven't completed. How many are there?
There's 4, maybe 5.
5. So I've done 2. So however long it takes to make or however long it takes for a normal person to complete the second and the third
It's
one.
easily 100 plus hours, I would imagine.
I don't think it's 100,
No?
but
Okay.
it was a long time for sure.
Rugs, hours.
I only played A Thief's End, which was the PlayStation 4 version. That was like fucking done soup to nuts, like all fucking, like tons of money thrown into that game. And I fucking loved it. I seriously didn't sleep for like a week trying to fucking beat that game.
Well, Ruggs, let's start with you. What'd you think of the trailer? Have they finally made the one good video game movie?
I don't know about that. It could be a good movie, but it doesn't ring as Uncharted to me. The funny thing is, in The Thief's End, which is the game that I played, there is a flashback scene, and young Nathan Drake does look like Tom Holland.
Oh, that's interesting.
But he's like in that scene, he's like 11 years old. So like now we're getting, and this motherfucker's 25. He's not going to age anymore. Like he's not going to shoot up. He's not going to, all of a sudden get facial hair and shit. Like maybe he will, but like he's just always going to look like Mike, like what's it called? The guy who plays Back to the Future.
Michael J. Fox always looked like a little kid.
Yeah, he's going to have that effect.
He does look like a young, inexperienced kid in this trailer, but then that allows them to make lots of sequels and make a franchise. Like he could be playing this character.
But he's never going to be like the Nathan Drake from the guy who can handle himself.
Right.
Like he has to beat people up. He has to shoot people. Like
I don't buy that from this. It looks like it's just Peter Parker. It's Tom Holland.
It was miscast from the get-go. Like, even, like, Mark Wahlberg should have the fucking mustache, at least. He doesn't rock the mustache. Like, why? I don't know. I feel like that a lot of these movies, they're like, we'll save this shit for later. But, like, if everybody shits on this, they're not going to make another one. Or maybe they will. I don't know. Who knows?
They're younger versions of the character. That airplane stunt at the end was crazy, and I believe that's like right from one of the games, right? Isn't that? Yeah. So even though it's an unbelievable, and he's doing a fucking Spider-Man pose for a moment at the end of this trailer. Anthony, geek boner or floppy jock for this one?
For now, floppy jock.
Jock.
The movie could be good. I don't think Tom Holland's a bad actor. Mark Wahlberg's been in some decent stuff, but it's just terribly, at least visually, terribly miscast because we just know what these guys look like. And Nathan Drake is basically Hal Jordan, and a guy that's probably in his like mid-30s.
Nathan Fillion. Everybody wanted Nathan Fillion for this part.
It doesn't need to be Nathan Fillion, but yeah, I mean, someone. It has to be someone that's like older. It can't be someone that looks like he's pushing 17.
Yes,
like,
he looks so young.
And then Mark Wahlberg, should be Sully. Or not well, Mark Wahlberg is actually closer to what Nathan Drake would look like than the guy that's playing Nathan Drake. And and Sully's like an old man.
Well, I believe
like a weathered guy.
Wahlberg wanted to be Nathan Drake at one point years ago. Like he has some connection to this movie getting made, and so he gets to play Sully instead. So, yes, it doesn't look like the guys from the video game. Now, if you've never played the video game, does this work on like this is this generation's Indiana Jones? Like this could go on. You want to see more? Does it even? Because some of the action looks good, but also it looks kind of I don't know.
I found the games fascinating because it had so much lore. Like A Thief's End was about like him and his brother growing up, like getting into trouble, and then and Sully kind of taking him under his wing and getting him into the world of like adventuring. And like, spelunking and shit,
right?
Find stuff. And the legends that were in it were like fun. And it reminded me of Indiana Jones or fucking Goonies and shit, where like One-Eyed Willie and there's like a whole treasure thing. It's like always interesting. And then sometimes they would reveal like these other societies we don't know about and like lands undiscovered. So like, I'm all into that. I'm all about that shit. So I'm down to check it out. It's just whether they deliver something that resembles Uncharted. It'll just be Indiana Jones Light or Dora the Explorer, like the same fucking shit.
Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, they made a movie of Dora the Explorer, and it was like a little Indiana Jones Light. It was like Tomb Raider Light.
I mean, that Tomb Raider, that's the thing. We've had Tomb Raider. We've had two versions of Tomb Raider, and it still didn't make it like really big. Like, can anything be the next Indiana Jones? Aside from Indiana Jones, the next movie they're making,
you got Indiana Jones, you got Romancing the Stone.
That was great. Jewel of the Nile, Romancing the Stone. That was the two movies.
Then you got
Goonies. This does kind of remind me of Goonies a little when you see the gold and the ships.
Tomb Raider, and then you have this. So like it's already been it's something that we're familiar with. So I mean, it's going to resemble all that shit no matter what you do. It's just that we were hoping to get like something that was dead on, and which isn't that hard, I guess, but
they missed. Well, we'll see if
it could still be good.
We'll see if Tom Holland can get him in the seats. February 11th, only at cinemas from Sony. Uncharted listener, let us know what you think. Join the conversation. You can follow us on the Twitters or the IGs or our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. It's closed. It's exclusive just for our listeners, just for all of us. Where you can check out fun things like this week, Lenny Romero, Lensations, who's a dope, talented artist, posted this amazing pencil drawing. He's a master of the pencil of Spawn, And it's pretty fucking amazing.
Oh, shit.
What did you guys think of this drawing? I'll put it up
Oh,
in the
it's
podcast
great.
art for the listener.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were going to ask me about this. I didn't even know what this was.
It's Spawn.
So I know that, but I didn't know. I was just like, there's a Spawn movie. I didn't even read the caption that this was Lenny's drawing. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, drawn by Lensations. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Lensations. And he's got an Etsy shop. You can buy prints of amazing kaiju artwork and a whole bunch of stuff.
I like seeing his superhero stuff.
Yeah, I like when he does other things outside of the Zilla, you know?
I like when he does the Zilla too.
I like when he does the Zilla also. He's got great Godzilla, every version of Godzilla, amazing
I
illustrations.
like this little Godzuki print he has going on here
And the prints are
on his Etsy.
very reasonable, very affordable. They look great, framed. I just want to promote Lenny. I love Lenny.
Oh, this Destroyer one's really nice.
Anyways, as Anthony browses Lenny's Etsy,
Let me take off my pants.
let's,
Jeez,
oh
nice.
boy, geez, keep
Oh,
them.
How good are they, though? They're really good.
They are really
Dude's
good.
gifted.
Yeah, these are super detailed.
Dude, it's pencil. It's all pencil. I don't know how he doesn't smudge the whole fucking thing. It's amazing. You know?
How does he do
I
this?
don't know. He's got lots of control.
He really concentrates. He's very dedicated. To
While
it.
listening to us. So, Lenny, you're listening now. Keep drawing. He's drawing while he's listening to us.
He
I
takes
guar-
his time.
I
God damn it!
guarantee it. All right, moving on. More Tom Holland news. Of course, we can talk about Tom Holland. We got to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home coming out shortly, December 17th. They had a big Empire. It was on the cover of Empire Magazine's big interview, and there was some funny stills in the magazine that immediately got memed, and as well they should have. Have you guys seen the memes of Spider-Man running away from Dr. Octopus? That was the still, and he's just like, whoa, oh no, run away.
So, do you have like a mashup of all of them, or
No, I don't. Have you seen any of them online?
no? This is the first I've heard of it.
Well,
Me too.
the one comparison, I have the one screenshot in the notes, is to when the Raimi movie, he was running away from the Goblin, and they were comparing it to that. But there was like a heated debate on, they were like, Toby and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man wouldn't be running away from Doc Ock. Why is he running? I just thought it was funny. But, I mean, it is kind of a funny shot. He's just booking away from Octopus. And, you know, in the Raimi movies, that's the first time he's Spider-Man. It makes sense he's running away from Goblin. This is like the 9th time this guy's been the Spider-Man in the MCU. He's still running away from things.
I mean, he faced off against Thanos.
Yeah, why you running? Anyways,
It's an old guy with fucking metal arms. You can do this in your sleep, and you got a fucking Tony Stark suit.
I mean,
Now you get
yeah.
me fucking started on this shit.
Yeah, I mean, you got a whole suit with fucking arms and gadgets and shit and kill mode. What are you running away
Get
from?
the fuck out of here.
Sure, he's got 4 arms. Whatever. The other thing I thought, I wanted to bring up that John Watts said in this interview. He said, quote, "We're definitely trying to be ambitious. It's Spider-Man Endgame."
Oh,
so
shit.
He's comparing Spider-Man No Way Home to Avengers Endgame, which I think is a little of a bit of a stretch.
Well, I think it's a little stretch, but I think what they're getting at is I think this might be Spider-Man's last appearance for a bit in the MCU.
Oh, I think there's going to be portals that open up and be like on your left, and then there's going to be fucking Spider-Man 2099,
I mean,
fucking
you get
Andrew
that-
Garfield.
You're not going to get that
everybody.
emotion of that moment without the 10 years buildup. But I see what you're getting. There has been a lot of talk as how Tom Holland said like they were treating this as the finale. It's Spider-Man's big finale, this 3rd movie. So yeah, I think he's leaving the MCU.
Yeah, I think Sony, they want to start using
I think we need a guy with
their
pubes.
toys.
Yeah.
Yes, just recast it with
It's
someone
time.
other,
Yeah.
someone with pubes. That'll be fine. Anyways, look up the memes were hilarious. Spider-Man running. The next big movie coming out though for the MCU, of course, Eternals, November 5th. A lot closer. Just like what's that? 2 weeks away. I can't wait for this movie.
Geek boner.
The movie premiered last week. The review embargo has been lifted, and scores are in on the Rotten Tomatoes and first reactions. And right now, out of 48 reviews, it is sitting at 75%.
Oh, so now that would make it certified fresh, right?
Yes, now because it was barely certified fresh, I guess was the big 6.3 out of 10 average. It is.
It's not 100% like every other Marvel movie that comes out.
Well, that's the interesting thing. If you I kind of scanned some of the early reviews, and it's mixed opinions there. What do you guys think? Did you see any of this?
I saw some stuff on Twitter that was negatory. Like I said, it was boring. But that was it.
I saw some stuff So the early instant reactions, everything was positive.
Right.
I saw that, and a lot of people were like, this does not feel like a Marvel movie. This feels like Chloe Zhao had a lot more influence on this story.
That's cool.
Campia really liked it, and his buddy. But then again, Campia liked
Rob Burnett.
Campia likes what movie is that no one really likes? It doesn't matter right now. He likes a Marvel movie that no one really likes. So I don't always try. And he really liked Shang-Chi, and I like Shang-Chi, but he was saying like this is the best movie since Logan. Blah blah blah. So then I saw some other stuff. Only like just browsing some headlines, and people were like, "Yeah, this is a little like too kind of boring, a little too ambitious in terms of different things." So, like you, Imran, the mixed reviews actually make me a little bit more excited for this.
Yeah, I mean,
because it seems like this is more of a maybe a polarizing film, and if that's the case, maybe either it's going to really hit with me or maybe it really won't. But at least I'll have a strong feeling either way on it.
It's 2.5 hours. There's 2 post-credit scenes, so they're going to be setting up a lot of things. And I have no doubt visually it's going to be amazing with these wide open landscape shots. But yeah, it's very interesting. The comments of it's unlike any MCU film, but then some people are like it's overstuffed. It's maybe too long. It's maybe too much. It looks like they went for it. They released a bunch of featurettes, which are kind of fun, and it's kind of been satiating my appetite to see something new from Marvel and to see the Eternals. And I realized, here's the thing she's got to set up. There's 10 of them. There's 10 of these motherfuckers.
Oh, shit.
In the Eternals. You set up a movie with 10 main characters. One of the featurettes breaks it down. There's 5 thinker characters, 5 fighters. Comments on that. Can they plausibly set up 10? Plus, that doesn't even count Black Knight, Kit Harington as Black Knight, and some other side characters. This may be why it's overstuffed. There's fucking 10 characters.
If you have enough time, you can do anything. If you have enough 2.5 hours, is that what they said it is?
2.5 hours, can you really get to know all 10 characters equally? Or
If you do it, if you're spending time with all of them on screen at the same time, yes. If you're telling individual stories and then trying to intertwine them, then it's going to be rougher. Because like in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? They're all together for most of the movie. And so you have enough time with them on screen together to kind of have relationships happen, rapport back and forth, things that strengthen their relationships like they go through together. So you can have that if they're all kind of around each other for a portion of the screen time. So they're sharing it and not like you're not bisecting it all over the place.
I mean, I think a little bit of difference is in that instance, we are meeting 5 characters as they're meeting each other. In this one, these 10 characters have known each other for thousands and thousands of years, but they have to reconnect. Anthony, is 10 characters too much?
I mean, Marvel's pulled off plenty of movies with millions of characters.
That's true.
But this is the first time we're meeting these characters, so it's a little different. From what I've gathered, and I think it probably was in the featurette, it might have been, or maybe might have been IGN's review. But even though there's 10 characters, it's really focused on like 3 or 4. I think
Cersei,
Gemma Chan, Cersei, Cyclops, except not Cyclops. What's his name?
Oh, Icarus, Richard Madden.
Icarus, yeah.
And Angelina Jolie's character?
I don't think she's actually what they would consider her one of the mains. I forgot like there was like 3 or 4 characters, and then everyone else is in it.
Kingu,
but isn't
Kumail Nanjiani.
No, he's definitely.
Damn it!
No, it's Salma Hayek is the big.
Oh, that's
she's the Ajax.
Ajax, right?
And from what IGN said, that they said basically you'll come out of this film and everyone will have a different favorite character.
Oh,
so
fun! Yeah, I mean, man, it looks amazing. And the craziest thing in this featurette, I wanted to ask you guys about this. The little kid compares.
Oh, she's one of the main ones. They said that's in a lot of the movie.
Who?
Sprite.
Oh, Sprite is. Oh. And there's like a speedster. So now you got like your first, like someone that looks like, well, we've seen Quicksilver.
She's deaf in real life.
Yeah, that character, that hearing impaired actress, she's also in The Walking Dead. She's great on The Walking Dead. She's a fantastic actor. So I'm excited that she's in this. In the featurette, the kid compares Richard Madden's Icarus to Superman and fucking name drops Superman.
Oh, shit.
Right in the MCU.
Why is this a big deal?
I don't know. Did anybody think that's weird? Like, Superman exists, or the character of Superman as a mythology
Spider-Man 1,
exists?
Aunt May goes, "You're doing too much. You're not like Superman, you know."
Oh, she says that? That was that was pre-MCU.
Yeah, so it's not like it's something new where Marvel movies will name drop Superman. I don't know. It's just fucking, it's pop culture. Like, what if they have Superman as a character in the newspapers or something, or comics in their world? It doesn't have to be that it exists in the real life. They could have fake heroes that they were whatever, you know.
When I first heard it, I did catch me like, oh, Superman. They're going, they're name dropping DC.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear in a review that they've actually name dropped DC heroes maybe a couple times.
Yeah, I think there's a Batman reference possibly that I heard.
I'm excited for the film, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the negative reviews actually haven't dissuaded me at all. Like you mentioned, or like I mentioned in conjunction with you, it makes me actually more anticipatory of the movie.
Right? Because it's not all one glowing thing.
Yeah, it's because the last couple Marvel movies, seems like every Marvel movie is like, oh, greatest thing ever, blah, blah, blah.
I don't trust critic reviews anyway, for the most part. Like, I very rarely, like, when John Campea started loving everything, I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, this is clearly, I gotta watch this for myself and make up my own mind. Because I've heard a lot of, this is a masterpiece. We're gonna talk about one in this episode.
I mean, this movie's either going to be a mess or it's going to be like this epic superhero.
Or it could be something in between.
Something in between. That's just good. Well, I'm curious to see how much of the Marvel formula it does actually use and how much they let her get away with.
The thing that from Campia's review that made me like, oh, this might be different is him saying, like, I really don't know. He's like, I really don't know if Marvel fans will like this movie. He was like, it just seems different. Doesn't seem like it's created out of the same cloth as those other movies.
That gets me really intrigued. That's kind of what I want. I want to see that.
Is this the thing I've heard a lot of people say is like, this is not a movie, it's a film. I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Cinema, Scorsese? Will Scorsese consider this cinema? Is that what you're saying?
Like, it is still a product to sell action figures. So no, it's still a movie, but it's still based on IP that's owned by a huge corporation. So I guess it's still a movie. I'm just saying, like, you're not making fucking the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know?
Oh God,
what's wrong with the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I'm just saying,
it's
like,
fantastic.
I'm just saying that's like a movie that no one would make except for the person who wanted to make it, and then it becomes a film. At that point,
we will see November 5th. I already bought my tickets for the Thursday, November 4th.
Yep, I'm going Thursday as well.
I'm down, so can't wait. All right, let's move on to Miss Marvel. Why? Because
that's you.
I'm Miss Marvel. Absolutely, I'm Miss Marvel.
That's such a old callback. I wonder if people like still understand.
But
what
Imran
you're
Vellani.
Well, the first time I said that, it was like I was excited about Miss Marvel because I was like, she's a Pakistani.
You're reading the comic book saying that.
Yes. I was like, she's a Pakistani immigrant that goes to school and she's a teenager who has powers. I was like, that was me. That's what I wanted to be.
But you've kind of moved, like, you still like her, but you're like all over Camille Nanjiani's nuts.
Oh, dude, I want to be jacked like Camille. I can't wait to see how jacked he is in this movie. I'm just going to be fucking drooling. Yeah.
I stick it up my asshole.
That's what's going to happen when I see Camille. Anyways, Miss Marvel show that is coming sometime in 2022. We still don't have a date, but the big question we've discussed is how are they going to show her powers? How are they going to explain her powers? As if you don't know, in the comic books, she is Inhuman, hit with the Terrigen Mist and the Inhuman genes came alive. And her powers are weird. They're stretchy, like Mr. Fantastic, but also she can make her fist really big. If you've played the video game, recent Marvel's video game, they did a pretty good job of making her like the comic book powers. But we were wondering, is that going to translate on screen for a TV show? Well, there's a piece of a promo art here that kind of gives you a hint of how they're going to deal with this. And it's going to be, and I'll put this in the podcast art so you can see it, listener. It's going to be like a Green Lantern construct thing. You guys seen this? How would you describe?
Yeah, the Purple Lantern.
What's going on here? There's a translucent big fist over her fist, kind of a projection.
Yeah, it looks like it's made out of glass or something.
It does look like it's made out of glass.
What is why does it look like that? Just
because it's going to be some sort of construct that she creates through some gauntlets.
Because stretchy powers are kind of lame, and they did it with in the Incredibles, like, to death.
Instead of inflating her hand, it's going to look silly, right? Her hand inflates. I think she's going to be wearing like bracelets or something that will give her, these powers.
It's the bracelet that she has on
Yes.
that gives her
There was a
power.
name for this, and I can't remember what it is.
Oh, it's the bracelets.
Well, what do you think of this change, Anthony? Do you want to see big, stretchy, inflatable fist?
I mean, yeah, we've talked about this. It is kind of like very zany to have those kind of powers, like a big fist out of nowhere and stretchy powers. So it's a relatively new character, right? She's only been around what, 10 years?
Yeah,
Less than that?
Probably. Yeah.
So yeah, play with it a little bit. I think it would be tougher. It's if this was a movie, I think they could have the budget to do it. But since she's starting out in a TV show,
sure.
Although Marvel spends a ton of money on their shows, I don't think they have enough money to have her stretching and throwing gigantic fists all the time through every episode. So I think they had to scale it back a little.
They're apparently maybe powered by something called a negabands, which is like alien tech, which is exactly like Green Lantern finds the alien ring and gets a thing.
Well, someone has bands in the Marvel universe. What's his name?
Quasar.
Yep.
Quasar bands.
The quantum bands.
Yeah. So there you go.
That could be part of it. Oh, shit. All right. Well.
And isn't he, what is his character?
He's some sort of crazy cosmic being. Those books I never read because it was all cosmic shit in Marvel.
Quasar was like Marvel Boy. Like he was like, he had the quantum bands.
Wendell Vaughn.
And he had something to do with Nova Corps too or something. I don't know.
Being of pure quantum energy.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's just some bullshit. Like it's all like cosmic energy, quantum energy.
Yeah, there's all different kinds of energy.
Yeah.
And there's dark energy.
Same shit.
And he has quantum bands. Yes. All right. Well, maybe we'll see him. Maybe that's how they tie it in. I can't wait for this show. There's no release date. Listener, check out our TeePublic shop while you're checking out, Lensation's Etsy shop. Head on over to jockandnerd.com/shop. Pair one of his prints with a Jock and Nerd t-shirt or hoodie or face mask or mug. All that fun shit is there. Help us promote the show to people we don't know by wearing a niche podcast shirt. Check it out right now. Okay, and we'll wrap up the news with some quick casting news. Stuff that came out today and the last week that I thought was interesting. Let's start with some Star Wars casting news. They're making that Obi-Wan show with Ewan McGregor. Takes place between the first three movies, and I believe Hayden Christensen's going to be in that as Anakin, right?
Yeah.
He's in it.
Okay. He is also going to be in the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
And what's weird about that is this show takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, after he has been killed and dead for 5 years. So, is this going to be flashbacks, Force Ghost appearances of...
It's got to be flashbacks and possibly a Force Ghost that she talks to.
Flashbacks would be cool of him and his prime, like fighting Ahsoka.
Right. I don't know. That's weird. I thought, wow. Maybe he's just going to be in the suit and not like you're not going to see him.
And the bigger question is, are we ready for this much Hayden Christensen to return? To see this much Hayden Christensen Anakin again?
Like, to be honest with you, I don't think that I'm hoping that he doesn't fucking suck. Like, I really think I would love for him to redeem himself. But you want to know something? That's okay. You have one thing that is on Hayden's side.
Yeah.
And that is that George Lucas is not directing.
Okay,
and
maybe.
So if you have a good director, maybe he can be like, let's do it this way. Have a good person there to make good choices.
It's a good point. Lucas is bad at directing his talent. He doesn't really know how to tell people.
I think
what
that
to do.
if he's an actor, he knows what the craft is, remembering his lines and emoting. It's just maybe getting the right take and doing enough takes so we can get to the right take. I don't think Lucas is he's like, that's fine. Let's keep going. He's we're wasting money.
He's like, you said the
lunch
line,
is coming up.
yes.
Let's go. Yeah.
They can't. Those are independent movies back in the day.
All right. Now I want you to say, woohoo. Do it. All right.
Cut. Perfect. Anthony,
Perfect.
any comment on this?
No.
Okay. Well, you probably haven't any comment on this one either. Andy Serkis, mocap master, and Alfred in the Batman, Matt Reeves, the Batman, will be joining the Andor series. Now, Andy Serkis also did the voice of Snoke in the fucking trilogy the sequel trilogy.
Whoa.
So is he coming back to play really young Snoke, because this show takes place before A New Hope, before Rogue One, about Cassian Andor. Comment, Rugs.
Oh, I don't fucking care about this show at all.
I really
Andy
don't give a
Serkis
shit.
being in it as Snoke that gets killed in 2 seconds makes me not even care even more. Like, why would you do that? Like, if Snoke got killed, but he did some badass shit first,
He
then I'd be
didn't
like,
do
oh,
anything.
I'm all into, like, let me find out who the Snoke is. But they have not established Snoke to do anything other than die sitting in a gold fucking robe. And that's it.
Sliced in half. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Here. How about this one? Here's some more casting news. The Batgirl movie, starring Leslie Grace, has a villain. The villain will be played by Brendan Fraser.
And who is the villain?
Well, there's 2 theories. They haven't announced who the villain is, but it's either, I saw 2 things, Carmine Falcone or Firefly, which are 2 very different characters.
I don't see Fraser as Falcone, but if he does pull that off, that would be great for him.
You got John Turturro playing Falcone and Matt Reeves the Batman. I could kind of see him as he's gotten big, so I could see him as a mob boss. He's fantastic on Doom Patrol as the voice of a robot dude.
Brendan Fraser as Falcone?
Or Firefly, though? Like,
Maybe Firefly. Firefly is a weird villain.
yeah, wears a complete suit. It's got just a blowtorch and a thing.
I would say Firefly. I don't know about
Is it
Falcone.
Pyro?
Brendan Fraser used to be fucking ripped, dude.
Yeah, he's not someone. He looks a lot more
He
like
was Cock Diesel in George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
You look at that. I would wish I could look like that.
he
but,
looks a little more like the Marlon Brando.
Well, he's just
Like
a guy
late
that
Marlon
aged.
Brando.
You know,
Yeah.
it's in that
Yeah.
kind of shape is impossible to keep up.
That's
so I'm
true.
not shaming him for that, but I'm just saying, like, he doesn't come off as a Falcone to me. And Firefly, okay, maybe, I don't know, but like, it's just weird.
All right, finally, the John Wick prequel TV show called Continental has gotten a big cast, but leading this cast, everyone, Mel Gibson
Oh shit.
is going to star in the John Wick Continental prequel series, which is crazy. The show is going to be about young Winston Scott, the guy we met as who played him? The guy from Deadwood, the guy who runs the Continental, young Winston Scott, 1975, New York City. Let me ask you a question about Mel Gibson. How does what are the rules of cancel culture exactly here? Because on the one hand, Netflix had a huge protest last week. Dave Chappelle, they're trying to cancel him. On the other hand, Mel Gibson is still fucking making shit.
Oh shit.
Well, he just made fun of Jews, which I guess you can do and never get in trouble.
But Mel Gibson, who
he said some kind of racial slurs against black people, I think.
listen, it's public record. You can listen to conversations on YouTube of him being anti-Semitic, misogynistic, racist, and a bunch of other things.
When did he do that?
Oh, this was many years ago. Is the
That's
He's
thing?
in the middle of divorcing his wife, and he got pulled over when he was drunk.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, you can look these up. They're still
Yeah.
everywhere on the internet.
He
and
wasn't
they're
doing a
amazing.
special.
No, that's true. I'm just saying. One way,
Like,
this guy.
I don't
everyone
know.
forgets
He was
and
in his
gets work.
private life. He was getting arrested and drunk and being an absolute asshole. But not that excuses it, but it's different when you actually, like Dave Chappelle was like, this is my special. He thought about it. He's went and said it. And, you know, they're getting mad at him for saying whatever he said. But the point is that it's a little different when you're, I don't know. For me, anyway, I was like, oh, if he went on like the news and like doubled down on everything, then I'd be like, okay, well, he's really fucking himself over. But
Well, I think he said it. I'm looking it up. He said it not a long time ago, but over 10 years ago.
2006.
That was like, and it was found out live. Like people found out about it when it happened shortly after, right?
Right.
right.
So 2010, 2011, that wasn't really the beginning of cancel culture.
But he
Right.
did his time. He got like no one would hire
Yeah.
him. He was a pariah.
Yeah, he definitely was a pariah. My point being, like, if we found out now, either if this happened now, or we found out, like, these videos, these tapes came out, like, now,
Then he'd be done.
then he'd be like, yeah, then he'd be in deep doo-doo. But
He'd be
because he's
Michael
already,
Richards.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he's done his time, it happened 10 years ago, you know, Whoopi Goldberg and Jodie Foster both defended him.
Hollywood is strangely forgiving sometimes when time passes. Just Google Mel Gibson rants on YouTube, listener. It's amazing. If you've never heard
I've
this.
heard them all.
Holy shit.
I'm not defending him. I'm just saying
he's a madman.
how he
I've
could have
also
gotten
heard-
out of it.
My uncle say the same shit.
Jesus.
Oh,
You know.
shit.
He's also made some good movies since.
He has, and like some of the stuff, and he's a good, like his performances are good. He's played some memorable characters.
Well, he's directed some good movies.
He's directed some good movies, and now he's going to be in the
One good movie,
Continental.
Hacksaw Ridge.
I don't think he's ever done a U.S. TV show, so this is kind of notable for his first TV series for Stars. I'm definitely looking forward to the Continental because I love that world. I want to know more about it.
You know, the thing is,
I just thought it was funny.
He's actually done some things since. So although
Has he redeemed himself completely?
I'm not.
I mean, he was in a movie with Frank Grillo for crying out loud.
He was evil Santa.
He was in the Expendables movie.
Yeah.
So he's been in stuff. Yeah. So kind of honestly, the question, Imran's a little dated.
Yeah, I guess it is.
He's already done.
Well, it's just that
He's
now
gone through the cycle.
Yeah.
it feels like, okay, this guy should be canceled forever, right? But like,
that's what you would
I don't
think.
know.
But no, it
You would
goes
think,
away.
but
People forget.
it's the timing of when it happened.
Yeah.
It just was a different time. Everyone's already been pissed off about that. People were pissed off about that 10 years ago.
So that's the rules. Just wait 5 minutes and it'll blow over, and the next thing will happen.
That's your hope.
but
Yeah.
did he kill a guy
No, I don't think so.
in a Walmart? Did he kill a
Who
guy?
was that? Who did
The
that?
The baby.
Is that real?
Yeah, he did. I think he did kill a guy in self-defense.
Oh, gotcha.
That was from the
Someone was
the
after
Chappelle
him.
close there. Yeah, he opens the baby joke, which is funny.
But I think there's some
Oh, yeah, that's what he
nuance to
says.
that.
He was in. It was in self-defense. That's what his claim is.
Should not be caught. Got shot by somebody named the baby. That's even. I don't know what's sadder.
Well, but the funny thing. Never mind. I'm not even going to get into the baby.
Yeah, Mr. Burns got shot by the baby on The Simpsons. That's how fucking silly this is.
Well, the baby went off and said some crazy shit too.
Wasn't that Chappelle's point that
Yes.
he could kill somebody, but he says some crazy shit about LGBTQ. And now he's done.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jesus.
It all
Yeah.
depends. Like, look at this thing with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll get to that
okay.
later. Save
All right, we
your
will.
thoughts. Yes, it's John Bellotti posts something with some clarity, and he has some insight. But we'll talk about that later. But right now, we're gonna take a break, play some promos, and come back and talk about lots of sand and dust and review Dune right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Transmission commencing.
This is Wookiee Radio. Translated for the Wookiee impaired. I like that Wookiee. Your hosts, Ken, Derek, and Mike, bring you the latest news and commentary from the far reaches of the galaxy.
Hold it. Hold it. I said hold it.
Subscribe today on iTunes and Stitcher.
I just assumed he's a Wookiee.
Start listening today, and remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
Hi guys, we're Mary and Vanessa, the hosts of True Crime Dropouts.
Join two best friends and former criminal justice majors as they pretend to know all things true crime.
So sit down, grab a broom, drive, we really don't care, and give us a listen. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and anywhere really.
And don't forget, stay in school or you'll end up like us, degreeless without that fabulous FBI job.
And nerd.
Listener, if you enjoy the show, you should join our fan club. Head on over to jockandnerd.com/Patreon.
Jock and Nerd.
Where you get lots of bonus stuff when you support the show at various tiers. There's an exclusive podcast RSS feed that has bonus content. The shows come out a little bit earlier. You can hear it before everybody else. Bonus content this week, there was tons. There was all of our instant reactions to Dunes. The Dune. Sorry, the movie's called Dune.
Dune, yeah, it's
I'm gonna
one.
stop saying the Dunes. It's a very
Singular.
It's a very Midwestern thing where you just add the and an S to things. I don't know why I do that. And Jock Talk is back, Anthony.
Yes, me and young Chasworth are back.
Their bottom
after,
is very weak.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to do a Jock Talk, so he hit me up. And then about halfway through the show, he's like, I got a kid. I can't do this anymore.
Oh,
so,
no. I got to bounce.
That's about it.
Hey,
It's only like a half hour. Very easy listen.
Listen, we got sports content. If you want actual sports content, it's on our Patreon. It's the jock side of things. This is only the nerd side. I've taken over.
The show is really just the nerd show.
Yeah, because I do everything, so I just took over.
That's
whatever.
Fine. That's fine. I don't want to do any work.
Yeah,
anyways.
anybody, whenever you want to step up, feel free. Anyways, you also get
There's no glory in this.
You get Discord benefits. You get access to a private Discord server when you sign up at our Patreon fan club.
And what do you do at this server? Is that what happens? Is it porn there?
No, well, it depends. if you give me enough money, you might see my man boobs.
Yeah, we at the Discord we were discussing what it would take to get you to take off your shirt on the next Discord.
Oh, it will take lots of coin.
So if I'm on a Discord, you sign up, you go to Discord, and there's like it's kind of like a hangout, like almost like a Zoom call, whatever you want to call it, where everybody can you could just bullshit with us and ask us questions. We hear us talk. You can just sit there and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, if you've never done a Discord, it's like a Zoom call. I'm on video. Nobody else has to be, but we all hang out and geek out and talk and comment live on videos. It was fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. We watched the Uncharted trailer live reaction all together.
We launched a lot of different things and got live reactions.
Anthony, what did you think? I love these. I look forward to them now as the months are going by.
Well, the best part was having Cheech Moran giving his speech about different kinds of pussy.
Oh, shit, that's right.
From Dawn of the Dead, right?
Oh, great clip from
is it Dawn of the Dead?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn.
I can't see your expression when this happens, but I wish that your camera was on while I was playing. I would see your facial expression.
We had a lot of fun. We do it monthly hangout. This next one is Thursday, November 18th. Sign up $5 a month and above.
Why don't we just push it the week back and go with Thanksgiving?
No, that's why I did it on Thursday, you motherfucker.
All right.
This is how I schedule. And then the next one's going to be another 4 weeks right before Christmas, and then they'll be back to like the last Thursday. I'm trying to avoid the holidays, of course. I don't want to step on anybody's things there. But a lot of fun stuff at the Patreon, jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Sign up today. Let's get to our review this week. It is the epic sand film from Denis Villeneuve titled Dune. Here are your spoilers.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
It's pretty
There's
good.
a little bit of delay there, so I was just going to do it.
No, I think you nailed the timing because I couldn't find the button because all the buttons got moved around somehow. I don't know where anything is anymore.
Or maybe your fingers are just so fat that you're just hitting the wrong
I've been
buttons.
working out my
You
fingers.
look like Baron Harkonnen.
Oh boy, that's my goal body. He's my goal body, Baron Harkonnen. Anyways, Dune, this movie based on a novel, Dune by Frank Herbert, from way back in 1965. Frank Herbert wrote 5 sequels to this story, so there's plenty of Dune story to be made. And then his son...
They didn't even finish the first story.
They didn't even finish the first story, so there's plenty
Spoiler
of Dune.
alert, sorry.
Yes, no, we already spoiled it. Plenty of Dune to come, probably, if things go their way. His son, after his death, went on to write even more novels and prequels. This movie originally was scheduled to release November 20th, 2020. But then, what happened? Everybody knows. I'm not going to say it. Pushed back to December 2020, then October 1st, 2021. Finally, it premieres September 3rd. It got released internationally September 15th, over a month before it gets released in the States on October 22nd. Unfortunately, by that time, the film had already leaked online October 17th.
Oh, shit.
Apparently, there's a big leak of this movie because also this movie was day and date, HBO Max, and theatrical release. And in terms of provenance of this movie, it's been attempted before. They've been trying to make this movie since 1971. The rights have been up for grabs. David Lynch made a movie in 1984. And there's a live-action miniseries.
Has anyone seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Was it good?
No, I mean, it was... Oh, my God, to judge it by today's standards...
Infamously bad from what I understand.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But, it's got its charms.
Okay.
Well, in that one, he shoves the whole book into 2 hours, which also has, that's
No,
going
I
to be...
think it's almost 3 hours, and there's always
Okay.
there's a cut that's 4 hours.
Oh, shit. So, yeah, he's trying to squeeze all of it into one movie. And then a live-action miniseries taking its time to tell the story, made in 2000. And I believe, Ruggs, did you watch any of that?
I've watched it a couple times, and the sets are so bad.
Bad green screening in that one, too, I believe.
I don't think it's green screen. I think they just have matte paintings.
Oh,
you know, like how Toho would like get this huge matte painting of like Mount Fuji, and then Godzilla would come in front of it. You know,
Yeah, and
that's
walk
what they
in front of
did
it.
for the sets
Oh,
there.
boy.
They just had these
Well,
gigantic.
look, it's
matte
sci-fi in
paintings.
2000. There's no money there. Nobody was
and,
putting
like-
any money into that.
And like the computer graphics look like they're out of like PlayStation 1.
I mean, this
And,
the network that brought you Sharknado.
But you want to know something? The acting's pretty good.
Okay.
And if if you just look at it like a stage play, it actually tells you the story of Doom.
Okay, I can see that. This one, 2021's Dune on Rotten Tomatoes is 83% tomato meter, 7.6 out of 10. Average rating, this one from Legendary and Warner Brothers. And box office wise, so this is where all the important numbers come because they got to make a second part. So is this enough? The budget of this movie, $165 million. And then you gotta guess another $100 million for fucking marketing, at least. The movie does open at number one, opening weekend, $41 million. All right. Now, it's been out, like I said, a month before it came here. Internationally, this thing has already made $223 million. This $41 million, while it doesn't sound impressive exactly, it kind of is. It is the highest domestic opening of Denis Villeneuve's career, and it is also the best opening Warner Brothers has had this year since they announced their movies going to HBO Max and theaters at the same time.
Also, keep in mind the industry was predicting 30, 35.
Yes,
so
it came above.
Not a huge amount above, but still above. And yeah, as you mentioned, day and date release. So you have to, you know, HBO's probably Warner Brothers HBO is probably measuring how many people are watching it on HBO Max as well, how many subscribers they might have gotten. So we'll see.
Yeah, this thing, you know, it's gonna
seems like it's doing okay.
It seems like it's doing okay, and the big thing is gonna have to make up a lot in subscribers. There is some viewing data from that firm Samba TV, which we've talked about before. They provide streaming numbers. They're saying Dune was viewed on HBO Max by 1.9 million households from Thursday to Sunday.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Which is higher than Zack Snyder's Justice League and In the Heights. Yes.
It's higher than Zack Snyder's Justice League. Wow.
Just by a little bit. Justice League was 1.8 million. The Suicide Squad, 2.8 million people watched that right away. So it didn't beat Suicide Squad. Dune come 1.9 at a respectable. So these are respectable numbers for this huge epic thing, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like it's doing okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
And then finally, creatively, the movie, of course, directed by Denis Villeneuve and written by Denis Villeneuve and John Spates and Eric Roth, starring Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Chen Chang, Dave Bautista, Sharon Duncan Brewster, and my vitiligo brother from another mother, David Dastmalchian. The minute I saw him, I was like, oh shit, I didn't know Dastmalchian was in this fucking movie.
He is.
And because any pasty role they have, they give it to the vitiligo guy. You know, it's not fair, but you get typecast. Charlotte Rampling, and a couple other people. Stephen McKinley Henderson. Great fucking cast. I mean, those are banger names right there. Anthony, as you mentioned, as we just discussed when the movie opens, it says Dune Part 1. And this is something that you do not see in any of the promotional material. I thought that was weird. Oh, here's the other thing we should put on the table. What did you know about Dune before watching this, Anthony?
Only got what you guys kind of told me prior, that this was basically the inspiration for Star Wars and a lot of the sci-fi we had seen, and that this was based off books. Other than that, Rug Boy may have mentioned a couple things here or there. I might have heard of them at the time, but they never registered with me. So I went into this, and I think I talked about this I've mentioned this before. Thank you, Imran, for getting the show some early tickets, because I saw this
you said
8
that
days ago.
Yeah, the early
8
premiere.
days before it debuted.
Yep.
So I went in almost pretty much completely blind, but that was by choice. I wanted to kind of be wrapped up in something I didn't know about and kind of learn about a new franchise potentially. So I didn't have much going in.
Okay, I'm the same. The most I know all about Dune is from fucking Rug Boy. Honestly, Rug's like, you told us the most. I remembered all the Dune conversations. I knew that it was like, just like you, Anthony, a heavy inspiration for everything. I didn't realize how much of an inspiration it was on Star Wars. We'll get into that. So I kind of walked in knowing nothing, and I kind of enjoyed that. And I watched it at home on HBO Max. It took me 2 nights because I started it after the Discord. Then I took a break after the first hour and a half, watched the rest of it the next night, and it was great. Ruggs, what did you know about Dune, and how did you watch it?
Well, I watched the movie when I was a kid, the David Lynch one, and it was fucking so weird and crazy.
Yeah.
I remember Sting was in it, and I wanted to see
Yes,
Sting.
Sting is in it, yes.
And it was like a very dark Star Wars. It was like a Star Wars for like adults. The thing about Dune, it had like body horror and all this weird shit in there, and it was just crazy. It wasn't as action oriented as Star Wars. It was more about politics and fighting for power, and it was like an allegory for oil and all that stuff. I didn't get that as a kid. I was like, this shit is kind of boring, but the costumes were cool, and it was just there's a lot of like makeup and effects and stuff, but like not a lot of action. So
you never read the book though.
I tried to read the book, but it is so dense that like, and I have a problem with reading. So like, I couldn't stick with it.
Read.
I can read comics. That's easy.
It's the first print of this. It's 412 pages. This book, so it's it's a big book.
Yeah,
it's a big book.
Yeah. Well, it's just dense, and it's just the way everything is described, and it just moves at this. There's so much like detailed explanations of everything. Like Frank Herbert, like really fucking researched his shit and like pulled all this stuff. But so there's a lot of like description and the way that they talk is even different than like they for this movie, they had to like dumb it down a little bit or like make it more common speak so people can, because I think there was like even some poetry or some rhyming in certain spots. So, if I remember correctly, anyhow, I couldn't stick with the book. And then luckily my saving grace was the sci-fi series that came out in 2000. And though the sets were bad and super low budget and some of the fucking outfits are wild and crazy and the graphics suck, the acting for the most part is decent enough. It's like Babylon 5 or like Star Trek The Next Generation type acting. It's like it's still good enough to follow. That's the first time I really grasped like what Dune is. And I was like, oh shit, like if they're going to make a real movie of this is going to be fucking awesome. And I couldn't wait. And I heard that that Jodorowsky was supposed to do it.
Yeah, we'll talk about. There's a documentary about his unmade film.
And he got Mobius, the artist.
Wow.
I think his name was John George or something like that. I don't remember. I can't remember what his real name is, but like he's this really great artist that did the Incal and a French artist. And he did all of these designs for fucking Dune and they were fucking outrageously cool. And I was like, awesome. And even in the sci-fi version, they tried to do some of this shit. Like, Mobius is known for doing like these really tall, crazy hats. Like the closest thing I could think of to Mobius is like the Fifth Element.
Yeah.
That movie where like everything's just wildly, crazily designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Like, so anyhow, I was like, oh, this movie's going to be crazy. It's going to be full of like all of this fucking stuff. So I couldn't wait for this movie to come out.
You watched it on HBO Max then?
I was going to go see it in the theater, but I was like, fuck it. It's too long and I'm going to have to pee and I'm going to miss parts of it. And let me just watch it at home.
Okay. What is Dune? Anthony, what happens in this part 1?
Oh, man. Dune is this movie that is set way in the future. I think it's like around 10,000 or so. At this point, interstellar travel is possible, and humans are mining different worlds and all these different things. And there's different houses that are running different things. And there's an emperor that kind of controls these houses and tells them what to do. And there's this planet called Arrakis, right? Arrakis that has a ton of spice. And this spice is basically like oil. It allows interstellar travel and lots of other things, I guess.
It's also like heroin.
Yeah, it does a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's good and bad. It basically runs the world. And House Atreides, which is where Timothée Chalamet's character is part of, is now been tasked to run this planet and basically keep everything going, much to the chagrin of House Harkonnen, who had been running that planet, I believe.
Right.
and they had been in a ton of conflict with the locals over there called the Furman. So they're basically sticking a new house there to run the most important commodity, run the mining of the most important commodity in the universe, and there's a lot of people that are obviously against them, and there's a big web of people playing each other and politics and backstabbing and stuff like that. And there's a Jesus-like character.
And there's a cult of witches.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of crazy shit.
There's so many things.
It's a very...
they don't even touch on, really.
It's a very... much darker and gothic.
There's
and
sand people.
Yep, that's the Furman, Imran. Yep, I said that.
Furman. Okay, well,
it's just there's a lot to there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
in this
and despite the fact that you had to lean back in the front row and watch this movie at a
second row
at a way too close distance, what did you think overall when the movie was over?
Oh man, right when it was over, I looked at my friend who's a movie guy as well. His name's Justin, and to preface, even though I didn't know much about this movie, I was actually like really excited to walk in and like discover a new franchise. And the Oscar part of me, I think, was also really excited because I've heard a lot of good Oscar buzz around this leading up to the movie about different parts of the movie, different technical categories, and potentially, best pictures type stuff. So also throw in Denis Villeneuve, and I was excited. My first initial reaction was, did I even like that?
Oh, shit.
I was just kind of like glazed over. Yeah. I was like, what did I watch? It didn't connect with me in a way that there was never a point in the film where I was like, man, I'm really now invested in what's going on. And then upon like further thought, I did some research. I did some just kind of thinking about the movie, and I'm still I'm on the side where it's like very well made, very like some of the shots are beautiful. Some of the creations are amazing. The score is pretty intense at times. It has a great cast on paper, but for me personally, I just never felt any sort of I don't feel like it hit me. I just didn't.
You didn't connect with Paul.
I didn't connect with Paul. I didn't connect. That's one of my main criticisms. I just didn't connect with any of the characters on screen.
Okay, yeah, so that's important.
Yeah, that's my my opening thoughts. Is very well made film in terms of technical expertise, but story never grabbed me.
Okay, Ruggs, you know the source material. Did they pull off the unfilmable book?
I think what they did was they hacked it to bits, and there's so much, like, the books and the whole story and the lore is so rich with things that are so interesting, and they just kind of gloss over everything to get to the story of like Game of Thrones. All right. Now, I think what happened was Dinas thought that Game of Thrones was popular and was definitely influenced by Dune. So I'll just take what was popular in Game of Thrones and put it in the Dune environment, let that part play out, and then just throw away all the other stuff that's interesting. And kind of like Game of Thrones, like where the dragons are like an afterthought and all that other stuff. All the lore is kind of like woven in, but it's about the character drama. And you can do that, but then it's just like every other fucking movie.
It's like a period. It's like a British period piece movie almost.
So like, what's great about like the Bene Gesserit, you don't know anything about. Like, you don't even know that they need the spice to keep their power and to keep their longevity, to live long, And that one of the things that the spice does is it makes people be able to extend their age and allow rulers to rule for a long time and have these dynasties. And then they didn't even get into like the guild, the Space Guild. They had like one scene. The Space Guild is like what controls everything. And they're in cahoots with Arrakis to get to spice, because they in order to travel, they got rid of all robots because there was this big war. It was a jihad. It's called the Butler Jihad. And where the robots rebelled and they outlawed all AI. So in order to...
Like the Matrix.
Yeah, so they got rid of all robots that has AI. So all they have is like these analog machines. And they made this drive that could propel ships through space-time, but there was no way... There was no AI to kind of direct it around other obstacles. So they what they did was they took the spice, which can allow you to change like the biostructure of things, and made these things that were like these giant floating brains that could do. They're human, but they, with the spice infused, they could do these calculations like a computer. And then there was these men called the Mentats. That guy with the eyes who rolled back in his head,
right?
That's a Mentat. The guy, he's
the
basically a
Smalchian
walking
was a
computer
Mentat too, right?
Yeah. So all of these guys are all like, you had no idea about that. You had no idea about any, like a lot of this cool stuff. They just glazed over it for the story.
Do you think it was possible to include all of that stuff?
Why not? I mean, look, there's shots of Zendaya for like 20 minutes. They could have cut all that out.
There is a lot of lingering shots of shit.
I will agree with that. There's a lot of lingering, not only of Zendaya, but a lot of like slow-mo shots of Timothy Chalamet looking over his shoulder.
With his hair all
like,
blown in the wind.
in the sand. That was one of my criticisms.
I mean, look, you could literally take all of those overdrawn shots and probably put in maybe 5 minutes. I just described that whole story in 5 minutes, right?
I mean, there's a lot of exposition in the beginning. Look, overall, I thought, not knowing anything, I kind of dug it. I got into the world. I enjoyed, there were teases, and knowing it's just part one, you could clearly see that his challenge is to balance how much exposition can I put in here versus keeping it moving versus putting some action. I thought he did a good job of balancing action scenes with the slower scenes, but there are times where he is showing you things instead of telling you things, which I appreciated. And there's also heavy exposition times. But man, that is a lot to put in. Could it have been done? Yes, you could have cut some of the fucking lingering shots, but that also adds a great, like, moody feeling to the film. And yes, what you said earlier is right. Essentially, it's a humorless Star Wars. It's Star Wars. George Lucas took this. He just added jokes and toys. And kind of
made it more fun.
It made it more fun and more like pop culture
knives, but made him into sword, lightsabers. You know.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of enjoyed this world, and I like some of the tech, the personal shields. I got a lot of clues from inferences and context.
Like they made the Baron more like menacing.
Yeah, he was very menacing. That dude.
Which one's the Baron? The naked guy.
That's fat floaty guy. Yeah.
Well, in Dune, like he's more flamboyant. He's kind of like, I don't know, they allude to him kind of like being a deviant in a lot of ways. And he has two nephews. He's got one big, brawly, dumb nephew.
Yeah, who's just chopping
heads. And he's got like a very beautiful, like chiseled nephew that's like the perfect, smart, whatever. His successor.
Everybody died except for him, though. And, well, I guess there was some more.
So, like, they didn't even conclude that, and he's like a big part of the story. I don't know. I guess they're going to introduce him in the next movie.
Oh, the other nephew. Okay.
Yeah, the other nephew. So,
yeah, you know, for me, like, first off, I just never. Rug Boy mentioned a bunch of stuff that I just like discovered now. Like, I just never was able to get a good grasp of the world and like all the different elements, like the Bene Gesserits, the witches. I had no idea. I still didn't have a really good concept of like who the Emperor was, why he was against
the Emperor.
Well, yeah, but I was like, we don't know. I didn't know why he was against House Atreides, why he double crossed them. I didn't really have a good sense of like the lady at the end that was working with the Furman that was apparently like
the ecologist lady.
The ecologist,
Yeah.
like there's just a lot of things, and for me, like all that stuff would have been. It would. I mean, I don't need it to be spelled out for me, but I think. The problem for me is like the world. I felt like I was watching the film from afar. Like I never felt immersed in the film. Meaning I never was able to be like. I never felt there were moments in the movie where I could just hang out with the characters and really get to know like Timothy Chalamet's character and his relationship with his family, what really motivates him, and like what this world really is. Like I felt like I was just kind of watching it like. In a movie theater, I wanted to be kind of wrapped into the world, and because I could never connect with any of the characters, you know, it just was almost a very, in a sense, kind of a generic hero's journey that I just never was on board with. Like, we get all these indications that Paul is basically Jesus.
Yeah, he's Neo.
Right?
He's the Messiah.
He's the Messiah. But why is he the Messiah?
The thing is, he is the
because he's half Bene Gesserit, and they
it's not a
have
secret
girls.
either. It's not a secret either. It's not like you think something like Neo where it takes to the end of the movie to get to. Like his mother went against like the order to have a child to please Duke Leto.
Duke Leto, right? And
a boy.
They weren't married. That was his concubine, right?
Yeah.
But they're supposed to have women because the Bene Gesserit, who are like the Jedi's, you can consider
they have
them
control
Jedis.
over what they can give birth to.
Yeah.
They keep it amongst.
And then she wasn't
women.
supposed to train him in the weirding way either, and she did that.
Well, but the thing though is this movie, although is the inspiration for a lot of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. It is.
It's the inspiration, but it was told in such a way that's so just like matter of fact, like, yep, this is he's the Neo. But it's like I never was like, it doesn't, there's no conversation coming out of this movie. There's no like, okay, how does Timothée Chalamet feel about being Neo? How does his family feel about this? Like, I never felt like a sense of weight on that character like that I could relate to. It was just like, yep, one day he's going to be the man and he's going to stop all of this.
The fact that she has this male Bene Gesserit trained, that's like a huge deal. And
I didn't feel any of that.
It just seems like this thing that like, don't tell him that you smoke weed. It's like a secret like that. Yeah. Like it's not really like a big deal.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. It definitely felt like, oh man, don't tell your dad that you had a cigarette this morning.
No, it's like, no, I have enough fucking. The reason why they don't want the men to have the power is because they can't wield it. They don't have the temperament to wield it, so it gets out of control.
See, right there. I don't know any of that coming out of the film.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's so much nuance and so much there that they don't get into it all. And I'm like, that would have made it better. Like it would have made it so much better.
Listen,
but now it's kind of like this
I like
thing.
what they gave us though. You get bits of things in. Look, there's a couple of scenes like the pain test. The one scene where he's having the vision. He's like, I see people chanting my name, going to war in my name, and then little clues when he has the still suit on, and the ecologist is like, how do you know how to do that? That's how Fremen do it. And he's like, I don't know, it just felt right. And she says this line. She goes, he'll know your ways without even trying. Is the Messiah.
They have a prophecy.
There's a lot of clues that he was. I mean, I love those little clues they dropped along the way.
It's not that the clues. It's just like
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it just
like
never
they're
hits.
there, but they're not lining up in this great way that like gives you like this great feeling of understanding, or like it doesn't click with you. Like when at the end of The Sixth Sense, when you get the reveal that he's been a fucking dead guy the whole time. Everything clicks together and the hair on the back of your head stands up, and you're like, holy shit, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And, there was never any of that kind of like feeling of, oh, wow, this is fucking intriguing. Oh my God. Like, oh, this is going to be awesome when he fucking finally fucking, I felt like, okay, it feels like a very by the numbers movie with beautiful scenery, with beautiful sets, with beautiful acting. All that stuff was done to the nines. It was done to the best it could do, except for telling the story of Dune. It did everything great.
What I know, Imran, like you obviously really liked it, and it's cool. There's a lot of people that really liked it. But for me, like I'm going to kind of echo, like it was just too many wide scope, like slow-mo shots. I felt like they went to the flashbacks or the prophecy dreams way too many times. Felt like the worms were used so many times that it like became overload. Like I just felt like every scene, like Denis Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer were trying to make this the most epic thing possible. And because there was no like time to breathe, no nuance, it was always like big thundering music, slow-mo shots, big landscapes. Look at the technology. Look at the cool things we have on here. And I was ever like, okay, like if you keep bombarding my senses with this, then none of it hits. And I'm just overloaded and I'm just sitting there going, I'm glazed over, which is how I felt through a bunch of them. Like, what is the story? Like there was some like nice touches that he did. Like, first of all, like let me talk about some good things. All right. So like obviously the acting is good. The casting is pretty good. They did great with Duncan, Idaho, which was a smaller character that didn't have enough screen time in a lot of the incarnations. In this one, he has more, and you feel it more when he makes a sacrifice.
I thought Momoa was great. He was badass.
I thought Momoa was the best character.
They did that, and then one of the things that I in the novel, in the movies, the architecture that the Harkonnens have is very distinctly different. It's kind of ominous and whatever. And just everything that they wear, it's almost like Star Wars did it better.
Empire. They're the dark, right?
Like
they're the dark
Star
side.
Wars did it better. It like made this big stark contrast between what the Jedis, and like the Jedis were in these soft claws and the stormtroopers were in this armor. And I felt like both of the sides, the houses were very similar.
Well, it's hard when you're only using 3 colors in your fucking movie. I mean,
yeah, and
not
so
a lot
the
of
palette
color.
was so limited.
However, I was able to identify the dark suits were the Harkonnens, the sand color, the light suits were the Sadukar. Then you had like the Fremen had their sand look, and then there was another group.
I felt like it would all. It felt like it all blended
The
together too
Atreides
much.
people did
and there
that
wasn't enough
helmets on.
contrast. And
I didn't see the contrast.
I didn't see enough
it's
diversity either.
It's not huge contrast, but there was different shades of gray going on.
I'll tell you what they did. So they had those warriors with that weird fucking sound in their throats when they talk.
The Sadukar, yes.
Yeah, but
they're just the killers.
You usually would use a visual cue, like give them really cool armor, do something really like visually interesting. But instead of doing it, they just made them have burpee sounds. So it's like it was cool that they did something at least, and it did add something to it, make them more intimidating. But there were so many opportunities for that visual flair to come in, and it would just seem like so muted and toned down that I was just like, this is Dune. This isn't like some fucking bullshit. This is like one of the major sci-fi novels of all time, and you're going to just mute it down.
Because you're on a sand planet the whole time. Like we are only on this one planet.
But you need contrast. You need the contrast. You need it.
I thought there was a couple of great, tense action scenes. Of course, the attack is great. That
was fine.
When they're in the,
I just say I didn't even like.
You didn't like that attack? The attack was crazy.
No, because for me, I was like,
I can't tell what's going on.
No, it's not that I couldn't tell what's going on. I was just like, oh, this came out of nowhere. Like, I know that they were kind of plotting something, but then it just like, boom, they're attacking. And then like every time I felt like the action would build into something, I was like, oh, this is going to get intense. I felt like he always would cut and it'd be like, oh, like now we're back here.
Cuts to a slow moment.
Like, it always was like, there was like lots of stops and starts, and even in the way he was directing the action scenes.
There was one random scene of like these guys sneaking up and then these other guys dropping down or they're popping out of the ground, but it was literally like a minute and then it just cut away and I was like, wait, what the fuck was that? Who are those people? Sometimes I was like, who's those people?
Yeah, I was like that, and I was like, how did the doctor, like, how was that one doctor able to? Well, I know it's betrayal, but I'm like, how does he have access to like the most secure thing within the side of this fortress to just let everyone in? Like they would give the doctor that access. I don't know.
The vision sometimes confused me, but I just thought it was funny that he's basically seeing scenes from the next movie. He's getting previews, and like that's now I want to see. I could tell where it was going to end. He was just going to end up with the Fremen, and the next movie is where he becomes badass and takes over and helps them kick him off the planet.
Well, the the doctor does that in every single version. That's the way it happens.
The
character. They needed a traitor,
right,
in order to get into the building. But yeah, it was just kind of weird. Like look, as an action film, as a piece of cinema or whatever, it was fine. It's just I have a frame of reference to what I expected, and even if I didn't know anything about Dune, just knowing that it was this big fucking deal to go in it and it being this kind of like it's one of those things that Dune has been copied so many times, right? So Game of Thrones has copied it. Star Wars has copied, endless amounts of things have copied it, and so when it comes time, you got to really bring something different.
That's another challenge I'm sure he had is how do you present this to an audience that is familiar with Star Wars? Yet this is the original and it heavily inspired Star Wars.
I think you make it slutty Star Wars. And
make a dark, like adult slutty Star Wars.
Because spice is like, all right, it's like a drug.
Yeah.
You stop taking it, you die.
You need it to live.
You need it to live once you start taking it. And and it does all this shit. Like it fucking does body horror, there's distortion. There could have been all of that.
So it makes great pumpkin pies. You throw a little bit of it in your pumpkin pie mix. It's fucking delicious.
Put in your coffee.
Turns your eyes blue. That's kind of a cool
after you're exposed to it a lot, and it extends your life. But Yeah, that's different. Like that whole angle is different. We haven't explored that in Star Wars or Game of Thrones. That element and how all of that stuff is interesting. The fact that the whole thing about the robots and turning on us and then us going into the analog, that's fucking, they haven't done that anywhere.
Yeah.
And they just completely didn't even go into that.
About the fact that they don't have guns, like the battle scenes harken back to Middle Age Crusade battle scenes or like a Braveheart battle scene.
Did you get the whole armor thing, Anthony?
The shield. These individual shields are cool.
All right. So so in the future, shields are so common, like body shields are so common
has one.
that they stop you trying to use guns because they made these shields that could stop anything that's coming fast at them, like a bullet or laser.
Okay.
So the only way to get through the shield is with a slow blade.
He says that. I got that. He says that in the movie. He goes, slow blade gets
They
through.
say it once.
I figured it. I figured it out. The dart he couldn't get to, it stopped, but eventually pushed in. And then there's a second dart that he knocks away. I got it.
The thing, I've been thinking about this a little more while you guys are speaking, is like what the movie really committed to was big sets, slow-mo, big score, like a lot of technical things. Yeah. But the movie never committed to like some of these like plot points and elements and story things that I think would have been way more important. Like all that stuff was maybe said, but it was so glossed over and not really like focused on that. Like, again, the story and the plot never hit me because the movie never committed to any one angle. Like it's your basic hero's journey. And it's odd because Denis Villeneuve usually makes films where you come out of the film and there's things to talk about, like in terms of story and plot. Right. What does this really mean? But no one's coming out of this film and going, man, he really made some things that make you like. There's some interesting elements in this movie that make you think about like how this relates to the real world and life, and like it doesn't do that. It's really just a setup to a hero's journey.
So the themes that the book dealt with aren't there, basically, is probably what you guys would agree. Because I love like the Arabic names and the Greek and Roman mythology, but they're supposed to have themes of like occupying lands, taking the resources, environmentalism, ecological stuff.
It's there, but
imperialism.
But you don't really see what like. You don't really feel like. You never hang out with the Furman enough to even understand how that like affects them.
The second movie, yeah. I wish we could see.
But this is one movie. I know. Like, I have to judge it by the one movie.
I wish we could have seen where they live, their sieges. I was so curious. I was like, I want to see what this looks like.
Like when you see the Furman, I'm like, oh, like dude, it seems like they like living out here.
Yeah, it's their.
Do they not? So I'm like, so are they oppressed or what?
Well, the Fremen, like they believe in number one, there's going to be a Messiah that's going to restore Arrakis to a paradise, and there is water underneath Arrakis, deep down in caves.
Oh yeah, the water.
But it's very hard to get to.
Yeah,
and they don't want to use it. They feel like it's holy water or whatever. It's very precious. So, and not only that, but they have ways of getting water from their dead. So they put their dead in like these things, and then they squeeze all the water out of their bodies. He said that at the end
when he had to kill the dude. He's like, "You got the water in your flesh. I will take it from you."
So like. In a world where everybody's trying to get this spice, all they want is water. And I think that there's something poetic about that. And they did kind of make that allegory there, and it was there, but it could have been better. Like, I just feel like the whole film was kind of like, as I said, it's like, it leaned a lot on Game of Thrones.
Yeah. The drama.
It leaned a lot on that dramatic angle. And they're like, we're not going to deal with it like a space movie. We're going to deal with it like a Game of Thrones. And try and get intrigue on who's whatever doing what, and the evil houses against each other and plotting against each other.
The water thing was interesting because I thought they would touch on that more. I like how the suits recycle your body sweat. And then there was that little mouse, and it was like drinking its own sweat off its ears. And I was like, oh, yeah, there's no water.
And that mouse will come back in, and that'll come in back in.
He sees the mouse again at the end on the way when Zendaya at the end of the movie goes, this is just the beginning. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. It's over.
Right.
The sandworms, I kind of love how they're the world's dragons. And Anthony, you said there was too much sandworm. I got to disagree. I thought they teased just enough. I want to see more. I want to see more people riding these fucking sandworms. Like the scale of this thing is wild. All the vibrating sand parts I thought were really cool. It was really fun to see. And
I felt I felt like we saw them too much because I think I counted. We saw them 4 or 5 times. It was literally like every time they got in the desert, it's like, oh,
yeah, because the sandworm's gonna fucking get you.
It was just one of those things again where it's just like you overload me so many. Like the first time when they're like mining the spice and the sandworms come, I'm like, oh, this is pretty tense.
That was the rescue was great.
But then they do the flashback thing in the middle. I'm like, oh my God, just cutting the tension again. But then like the second and then the third and then the fourth time, I'm like, okay, like I get it. The sandworm's always going to be there.
But then the moment where he comes out and then they just stare each other down, Paul, that sandworm doesn't attack him and kind of like just kind of acknowledges him. I was like, oh shit! You can clearly see
he's the chosen.
He's the one.
I know.
You can clearly see where Lucas got the idea for the Sarlacc pit, also in this sandworm.
Oh yeah, the voice is like the Jedi mind trick.
The Bene Gesserits of the Jedi. I mean, we can't get away from the fucking Star Wars comparisons because he took a lot from this, obviously.
Right.
Again, it's a Star Wars, Game of Thrones kind of mashup. That's a lot more moody.
Yeah. And just no jokes. Just take all the jokes out.
In the sci-fi series, I don't know if this is from the books, but in the sci-fi series, there's a love triangle where Paul Atreides and the Emperor's daughter, like she's obsessed with him and wants to marry him because she thinks he's hot.
Well, he mentions that at the end. He goes, the Emperor has no sons, and she's like, you're going to make a play for the throne, and that was his plan.
Why does the Emperor not like the House Atreides?
Atreides?
Yeah,
because
it's a good question.
They were in the grand scheme of all the planets. Like the Atreides name was like of an honorable family, like the Starks, and people were like trying to. They heard that the Harkonnens were like assholes, and they were like gaining favor and becoming more popular amongst dealings with even the Emperor. They didn't trust the Emperor, and then this is the biggest thing was that the guild, the Space Guild, was starting to favor House Atreides too, so as soon as that happened, the Emperor's like, oh, I got to get rid of this guy, so let me put them on there, and then that'll make him, that's like putting Ned Stark on in charge of the Iron Throne as the hand of the king. It was put a target on his back immediately.
Is the guild more like, what is the relationship between the guild and the Emperor? Like
the Space Guild is in charge of all interstellar travel, so nothing gets shipped anywhere. Nothing goes. It's imagine like these ships are like these big fucking ocean liners that carry shit from place to port. Like they're in charge of that. So without that, like everything stops. Anything going from planet to planet stops, and then like, all these people that are using spice are going to die. So they like the spice must flow. That's what they keep saying. It has to flow, and so they have a lot of power. So anyone who controls the spice is essentially the in charge of everything. So the Space Guild and the Emperor have the most power, but the Atreides family was rising in power.
Oh, and the Emperor's kind of threatened by that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Harkonnens hate them. They have like this long feud going on, like the Lannisters and the Starks or whatever.
Right. So the Emperor sent Atreides to Arrakis as kind of a trap, knowing that
absolutely
the Harkonnens are going to go and take him out.
I didn't even catch that was a trap until you said that after the movie.
They say it in the movie.
Do they?
Yeah. He does say that.
They're more aware of it in the actual book. Like they know that they're in trouble, and I think. They do it in the movie. They do kind of like when there's this whole like the procession and they come in the ship to make him sign the thing to take over. He looks very fucking scared, like not scared, but he looks like he's like, this sucks. I have to do this, but there's no way I'm getting out of this. Like so, Duke Leto's like, yeah, but this is our duty to do this. Like we can't back away from this. So I think everybody knows that it's a trap, but it's not as. It seems like more optimistic than it should.
Desert power, because he's like, we need desert power.
Right. He keeps going. We need desert power. We need to there's a lot of like him talking about making an alliance with the Fremen or the Furman. So it seemed like he was like, like we got to build up these machines and like get everything going again. Like I don't know. It felt like he was still giving it a go as if he was going to try.
His strategy was right.
Do it.
Yeah, he was like, look, the way to beat the Harkonnen and the Empire is to actually not occupy the Fremen, but become friends, allies with them.
Yeah,
and learn desert power, and that way we can take back whatever, or be in power.
Yeah, and what happens is, in this version, they get to Arrakis, and it was all like fucked up, and then they couldn't produce spice, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like,
they were left with crap.
So they were like doomed to fail. I think in the book, his plan works, and they are working with the Fremen, and the Fremen and things are starting to jive. And that's when they decide to fucking just go in ham and fucking attack them. And they do some kind of thing to kind of get the Emperor to agree on it. But, because he doesn't want to have any of it follow him back. Like, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Keep his hands clean, but he kind of like set him up. The fucking Baron in the black liquid was amazing visually. It reminded me of Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
So fucking weird.
Holy shit. And then he just goes back in. Apparently the guy did that for real. Like,
that's Stellan Skarsgård.
I know that prosthetic suit is amazing.
I thought it was Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
You don't even see that he's wearing like an anti-gravity belt.
Oh, that's how he floats around because he's so fat.
He's so fat. In the novel that he has to have like an anti-gravity belt to.
I did love that shot where the doctor is like, "Okay, I did my part. You do your part of the bargain." And then he's out of focus in the background. He goes, "Oh, you want to go see your wife?" And then the shot's just there, and he slowly floats forward in focus. He's like, "Go see her."
Kill him again?
He just fucking slices his neck. He's like, "Go see her," and then fucking cuts his head off. I think.
They're just. Just not a lot of fun to be had in this movie either.
It's very moody and dour and like, fuck. Okay, so wait, let's just talk about kind of where it ends, because at the end, the Baron's like, kill all the Fremen. We have the spice. Let it go.
I'm very confused by the ending.
Okay, so Paul meets the Fremen, and then there's the one guy, Jamis, who he has been having visions of, who's the guy that's like, let me show you the desert. Seemed like they were telling him, this is your friend. Find this guy, right?
So why does he kill him?
This guy, I have a theory about that. This guy doesn't get a good feeling, challenges him to a duel, a fight to the death, and Paul kills his first person. Now, you notice they took his body with him. I think they can reanimate him with the spice. We might see that, and then they become friends.
No?
Why would they take his body? They took his body with him.
Isn't that for the water?
They're going to damp the water out of him.
They take the water out. So then what was the fucking vision? Sometimes I guess he doesn't see things that happen.
His visions aren't always accurate? Is that?
No, his visions are saying, yes. He is the way to becoming a Fremen. One of the things that killing him in battle automatically will get him there the fastest.
Gets him initiated. Dude, okay.
So it was just like a hey, this guy is important type of thing. Like you're going to there's something around this guy that's going to lead you to the Fremen.
I was like,
just killing him.
Killed the guy who was supposed to be his friend.
I was confused as fuck.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that's fine. That's like an allegory that's poetic or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this guy, the only purpose that he serves is that he gets a trial by combat, thus proving himself to the Fremen, and then allowing him to actually be taken in by the Fremen. It's an
initiation, and now he's in. I did love that one vision of the war scene where they fucking pop out of the ground, out of the sand, and they're wearing like Power Rangers outfits a little bit, and then you see that it's him. And he's all badass and he's killing him.
I just don't like the CGI with the mask open. It looks so fake.
That looked really bad. But the fact they came straight out of the sand, straight up and attacked these people, I was like, oh shit, they're in the sand. Okay, so at the end, she's like, this is the beginning, and now he's going to get trained in the Fremen way.
At the end, we finally get someone that's like cast as one of like the lead characters, and she has like some of her only dialogue in the entire film. Jesus Christ.
And she's
not even in this movie.
Okay, so let's talk about clearly the needs a sequel. Now, what's interesting is Warner Brothers, after seeing this opening monies, we mentioned the respectable numbers, better than people expected. You would think they would announce fast track a sequel. Do you think this sequel gets made regardless of box office? Legendary really is the one, I think, that has to pull the trigger on announcing the sequel. But do you think it does enough? I really want to know what happens. I want to see him train and become badass and go and take down the Harkonnen with the Fremen, ride a fucking sandworm. I want to see this shit.
It still depends on how much money it makes, and I think I think it's on the right path to getting a sequel. If it makes a decent amount of money and it potentially gets some Oscar love, I think a sequel will happen. Which I think it will get Oscar
for the
love.
score, maybe directing, cinematography,
and it might even get a Best Pick nomination.
Oh shit! Rugs, does it get made? Is it a for sure thing, or what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't expect the world to think like I do. because I know that a lot of people have not seen anything maybe other than that. Most people have just seen Lynch's Dune, and this is a huge step up from that in a lot of ways as like a legitimate film. So I think that most people are going to be happy with this film.
It's got to be the best version of this story so far told on screen. Maybe.
I mean, effects wise and cinematically, like looks wise, yes. I don't know if it sticks to the books and gets you the story as much as the sci-fi series does. And the sci-fi series takes a few liberties too, but like for the most part, I think it covers the basics.
I think he made it palatable and didn't overstuff it with too much. I could have used a little bit more, maybe just a little bit.
I don't know if he made it palatable.
No.
I mean, I didn't. I was still confused as fuck by the end of it.
I feel like that Dune is such a great concept and has so much to offer that to just lean on the Game of Thrones aspect of it only weakened the movie.
Watered down too much for you.
I feel like they just gutted it. And they just said, okay, here's the bare bones. We're going to cut out, if there is a love story, love triangle, we're cutting that out. We're cutting out all of Baron Harkonnen's his other nephew that he's in line to marry the Empress.
I believe the ecologist character is a man also and has a big part in the book, and they made it a woman. They switched.
Yeah. Well, she did a fine job. Yeah. That's not a big deal.
She was good. The acting was good. HBO Max has announced they're working on a prequel story about the Bene Gesserit. So you can find out more about that.
That could be interesting if they cover the history of Dune. Like they should. Why are they afraid to? I mean, but we've been like hearing about stories about Star Wars of all these different things, and we want to know how it happens, or we'd like to see versions of it. Like we heard about like how Anakin became fucking Darth Vader. We still got to see that in the prequels, and then at least it was there. We got to see it.
You know what got me in the mood for this really was Apple TV's Foundation series, because really in terms of when the books came out, the literary sci-fi fantasy line of succession starts with Tolkien, and then Isaac Asimov writes Foundation, and then Herbert kind of writes this as a response, a kind of a counter to Foundation. But Foundation does a lot of the same world building, and they, of course, have more time. And I wanted to see, and this really reminded me of that same kind of world building fantasy sci-fi.
Forgetting about John Carter of Mars.
Oh, and there was that, which was even earlier.
That was set in Mars in a desert.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another one
with sword fights.
All of those are the huge inspirations.
Swashbuckling and warring tribes and warring factions, like very similar.
Whereas Foundation is a comment on like preserving knowledge and history. This is more about it's supposed to be about like
oil. It's about oil and shipping,
resources, female power,
and resources. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's rate it, Anthony. What would you give this movie? Final thoughts.
Man, this is a tough one because it is very, very well made, and we didn't even get in. First off, no one want to talk about Hans Zimmer's score?
Wait. Yes, no, stop right there. Ruggs,
that's a big part of this movie.
Yes, Ruggs, do your impersonation of a Hans Zimmer score. You nailed it even before watching the movie.
That's
100% correct.
I think I told you guys in before the movie, I said, this is Hans Zimmer completely unchained.
Yeah.
And I think that's Denis Villeneuve was like, you're going to do what you want.
It was aggressive.
You might make the music and I'll make the scenes based on your music.
Yeah. Well, they both love Dune, right? Both of them have said they love this story for a long time, so they know the source material. Now, his score is so aggressive at times. There's high-pitched strings, and then there's drums, and then there's always a woman vocalizing. It was kind of funny, because I was like, cue the lady, and the lady will come up and go, ah! But then I kind of thought about it as like, is this the Bene Gesserit spirit and soul? Like the women cult, is this them singing throughout the thing? But man, this woman kept showing up. He brought like a 35 female chorus of women and recorded them on Zoom to do this during the pandemic. It works for the most part, but it did start to become a joke at that point. Also,
yeah, I mean,
he invented instruments too that didn't exist for this.
It literally was like every scene he was just dominating the scene with his score. I felt like more than half the movie wasn't dialogue, it was just him scoring the movie.
Yeah.
And we are just watching, scenes occur with the score happening.
Just sand and music
Now-
and ladies singing. Yeah.
What do you think about all these people, these dudes that are going, this is a masterpiece?
I mean, I could see the argument because if you look at the scale,
What's
and
masterpiecey
scope,
about
just
it?
the fact that he could pull this off, the scope of this movie, shooting on location in 100-degree heat, the sets are amazing, the acting, the direction. I don't know.
There's a lot of technical stuff in there that I would say is very good. But to call it a masterpiece would say that the story and the characters really coalesce together. I can't say that because I just didn't like the story and the characters.
I watched it, parts of it again, on HBO Max, and like I kind of dug it on a second viewing. I don't know.
Maybe I gotta watch it again, but I'll tell you my experience while I was watching it. I had two different polar things happening at the same time. On one hand, I was like, oh, this is a cinematic experience. This is a lot of cool shit. This is some really cool shit. Some cool acting, some, great choices here and there. But at the same time, I'm like, is this Dune? The whole time I'm going, is this Dune? Is this really Dune? This is what they're telling? And I'm like, I had that conflict going back and forth. So when I went to go rate it, if I'm going to give it a number, I'm like, okay, I gotta congratulate, because usually I go, is it a movie? Yes, it's a movie. It's definitely a fucking movie. It's bordering on cinema, whatever you want to fucking call it, a film. But as I said, I don't think it. And then when I look at it, did it do the intended thing that it needed to be done? Did it tell the story the best possible way it could be told? And I think no. I think that they wasted a lot of it on these lingering shots of Zendaya and people in thopters.
The thopter or the
like there was like in like just like vistas and like, sure, do that every once in a while to establish the area, establish Arrakis, establish all the different areas, but don't keep doing it and then waste screen time and like literally have shots of people just sitting, not saying anything. And you can do that all day if you have nothing else to do. If it's just about, but you have to tell this whole world, all of this story is just getting lost.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like it left out a lot.
So I'm like, I was getting annoyed by that. So I'm going to give this, like, if I'm going to give it a scale of 1 to 10, I got to give it an above a 6 because it's like an above average movie. And so I'm going to say, like, I think in my instant reaction, I gave him a 7.5 or something. Yeah. I'm going to drop it down to a 7.
Okie dokie.
It's watchable.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Okay.
But it's not great either. It's just, it falls pretty short of what I expected a Dune movie to be.
Anthony, what was your number? You didn't give me a number.
I did not. No, this one is a tough one because I can certainly appreciate a lot of the technical work that's put into this film. There's definitely a lot of hard work that went into this. It definitely seems like a passion project. Seems like as far as like the whole entire movie industry, you want to see things, even though this wasn't made in a way that I liked, you want to see auteur directors get a chance to do gigantic budget films, big IP the way they want to do it. And this is definitely the way he wants to do it, right? Like there's definitely, I don't feel like there was anyone holding Denis Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer back from doing what they wanted to do in this movie. That being said, I didn't find it to be all that entertaining. I didn't find it to be all that engaged. Again, I felt like it never hit for me in a way that I wanted it to hit. And a lot of that's because I just didn't understand the plot and I didn't really understand any of the characters. Like I didn't understand their motivations and what this world really was like. I was just watching things from my seat, without a real feeling of immersion. So it's tough. I almost when I first came out, I was like, this is like a 4 out of 10 for me. But I have to give it a little bit more credit than that. I think it's a disappointing film overall. And with that in mind, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's better than average, but I mean, it's not a film I'd want to turn on again. And it's not a film that makes me want to watch part 2. It's not one of those where I'm like, I got to give it another shot. Like I always hear that with like TV shows, and TV shows is different, right? Because they're 10 episodes, 8 episodes, so you can watch the first couple episodes and it can be slow burn. This is a 2.5 hour movie that's like sensory overload. And if by the end of that, I'm not like, man, I want to see the continuation of this story. I think that's a problem.
I dug it. Look, I dug it. I appreciated the ambition, the scale, and the scope, and like you said, the hard work. But everything you guys said about the story is kind of true. I did end up picking up enough teases and clues to. I felt like
you picked up more.
Now, let me ask you a quick question before you give it a rating, because I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
For a movie that takes place in a sandy planet, was there enough brown people in it for you?
There probably should have been more brown people. It is a little bit.
I was just gonna say
the white Messiah story, also the white savior story. You know, a little bit. There was some. You got Javier Bardem and Zendaya. That's good representing.
Okay.
And Janice. But I when it ended, I was like, oh shit! I want to see this guy become a badass and ride a sandworm. So it got me hooked for that. So right now, I'm going to give it 7.75. And that could change if the second movie fills things in better. But all your critiques is absolutely valid. Could use a little more information. He's just teasing at things, but I like that he was showing more than telling, at least.
I would love to be blown away just once. I would love to just go to a movie and just be like, holy shit, like, this is fucking unbelievable. They nailed it, like, in every way.
Yeah. It doesn't quite get there.
No.
What's disappointing is I think he's a really good director too.
Yeah.
And to make, again, a very technical film, but to make a movie where you've made like Arrival and Blade Runner and all these other movies that like provoke a lot of conversation afterwards about themes and identity and all these things. Movie doesn't do that for me. And
you know, he took
that's kind of that's like his jam. Like he's really good at that kind of stuff.
It's kind of weird because it's not a bad film. Like you know, in what he has created, it's fine. Like everything kind of works, and there's some great stuff to pull out of it. But at the same time, if you know the actual what it's supposed to be, and you're like, oh, that's missing. I wanted to see that. Oh, I wanted to see that, and that would have made that better. And so it's just weird that he made these choices.
It seems like he's trying to take this big thing and then try to make it intimate for the drama but I don't think he's succeeded.
Well, what is the drama that you think that's, I think, what's the drama? Is it this boy is going to, if you're doing the story of Paul Atreides, right?
Yeah.
It's about this boy who's kind of like, he knows he's special and he loves his dad. And they're going to a place where he knows shit. He's had dreams about this.
But he's got to fulfill his destiny.
His fucking whole family's going to get decimated. Yeah. And that he's uncertain about his future. Not once did I feel that. Not once did I feel that.
You feel that more like a Luke Skywalker, I suppose, but
100%. That's why that movie's an all-timer.
Yes.
And I don't know where this movie is going to end up, and I think maybe that'll be decided in part 2. But I do think, if you look at like Letterboxd, I think the average rating is a 4.1 out of 5. I think a lot of critics really like it.
The audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 91%. So
there's a lot of people that like it, and I think it will get Oscar love. So I might even get a Best Picture nomination.
I hope there's a second one. I
think it's decent. I think it's disappointing at the end for me.
All right.
But,
okay.
But yeah, you might love it. Go check it out.
Check it out. Let's do some news from the nation.
It's time for news from the nation.
It's time for news from the nation.
Flush it.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
And that was a little remnant.
Well, we're going to follow up the fart noise talking about a tragic situation with Alec Baldwin here because John Pilati Jr., who is the admin, lovely, strong-handed admin of our Facebook group, had some comments about the incident on his movie set Rust, and he posted a article about legal experts weighing in on Alec Baldwin's possible liability, saying, while the New York Post newspaper is practically a tabloid rag, this is an article that says a lot of the same things I have been saying. To quickly catch everyone up, this is just a bad day at work for Alec Baldwin filming this low-budget movie.
The worst day at work.
The worst day you could ever have. Filming a low-budget movie called Rust. And the first thing we heard when the news broke was that there was a prop firearm discharge bad and ended up killing the cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, director of photography.
You immediately get Brandon Lee,
Yes.
Crow vibes when you hear something like that.
And injured the director. So, like, 2 people got injured. We didn't know what was going on. As the investigation and new things come out, it is been a crazy story. This one article says according to this affidavit, what happened. So a search warrant affidavit, first reported by the Santa Fe Reporter, kind of tells you what happened Thursday at this ranch outside Santa Fe. According to the document, so the guy in charge of weapons on set, as Bilotti had mentioned, they're called armorers or weapon masters. According to this document, the armorer had laid out 3 prop guns on a rolling cart. The assistant director handed one of them to Alec Baldwin, telling him it was a, quote, cold gun, meaning it was believed to contain no live ammunition. But according to this affidavit, the gun was then loaded with live rounds. And then when Baldwin pulled the trigger, he tragically shot her with a fucking live round. And then the director, Joel Souza, who was standing behind the cinematographer, also got struck and wounded. Now, more details have come out that this set has had lots of fucking bad things. The set conditions were not great. IATSE union workers had walked off the set because of these unsafe conditions. They were replaced apparently with non-union people to continue
Let me comment on that because I saw that today.
Yeah.
Everybody and their fucking mother is going to be looking to get money out of this.
Yeah, who is liable here?
Because although I don't doubt maybe set conditions were bad, do you think that really led to like a mistake with the gun? Like I feel like everyone's going to look at this and like there's so many ways that this is going to get pulled apart by lawyers are going to get so involved in this thing. Like everyone's going to be looking to get Alec Baldwin like hung up, like whoever all the production, like everyone's going to try to make money.
Sue everybody pretty much in this one.
Sue everyone.
Yeah, no,
it's definitely a tragedy. But when I saw that, I was like, okay. Like now the unions are going to get involved.
You know, he's executive producer on the movie. Also, they're scab workers to the union. They're being replaced after walking off an unsafe set. So many bad things. So many ways that this could go.
What was it unsafe? What did they do?
Well, I heard that the prop master was very inexperienced as well.
Yeah, they had misfires earlier.
Oh, wow.
And I think someone else got hurt. It was just they weren't doing things the right way. And in this article, I'll post some of these articles, the armorer explains, like, when you do this, you close off the whole set, you double check everything, nobody's around, you never shoot it at the camera or at a person. Like, it's always cheated off to the side. And even blanks can be deadly. There's still gunpowder involved. My question is, why are they still using live fucking rounds? Just do it CGI now. You add smoke and pop and everything. It looks the fucking same. You don't need to be fucking with live rounds on a movie set. It's ridiculous.
I mean, that might be a change that comes out of this. Who knows?
I mean, really, it should not be.
I mean, can't they create something that is like really harmless, like that makes it feel? Because I think when you're acting and you're using a fake gun, I think giving it a live round, it gives it a sense of authenticity.
But you can weight it the same way so it feels
like,
real.
Maybe they got to do. I mean, that's a whole business. Like, come up with something, a fake ass gun.
First
like,
of all,
there's a whole
it's
industry
called
there.
acting. You act like there's a live fucking round in there. What the fuck? Come on.
I don't tell Jared Leto that after he was sending used condoms to his
Oh
clip.
God, yeah, he's a nut job. Yeah, I mean, overall,
it's
so
just a terrible
horrible, and it does
situation.
echoes of The Crow and Brandon Lee, and how that guy, that in that case there was still some debris in there, and it wasn't cleared, and the blank went in.
I wonder, like I saw one of the articles you posted, like Alec Baldwin could face liability. I mean, I don't even know, like. People are going to go after him, but what did he do? Like, it's just terrible.
If he
for
was
that guy.
really told there was a cold gun and someone loaded it, didn't tell. It's not. It's clearly someone should have been checking.
He pointed a gun that had and knew there was a live round? Like what? That doesn't seem plausible.
And it's weird that 2 people got shot. Like, did he fire more than once? Was it the same thing? That it's just there's a lot of questions. Still, I have, but like you said, they're going to sue everybody. Everybody's going to get sued on this. There's no way out of it.
I don't even know if that movie
Alec
gets made.
Baldwin was anybody else, because like people don't like his politics, right? What was it? People don't
He's
like
very
him.
liberal. Yes, he does the Trump impersonation on SNL. Yes,
yeah, he did Trump. So people don't like his politics. So they now they're coming out of the woodwork to like, you know,
this is their shot for sure.
Involuntary manslaughter, he could be criminally liable for. That's what they're saying. This is fucked up.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really kind of a weird question to even ask, but I wonder if that movie even gets made at this point.
Right?
I mean, the director's alive. I don't know.
Right? Jesus. They shut down the set. I saw it was the last thing while they do investigation. So everything has been halted. But the armor, this lady, her father was an armorer. The armorer was Hannah Gutierrez, also known as Hannah Gutierrez Reed or Hannah Reed. And she was in a video with Jensen Ackles recently showing him how to use a gun for the movie, which she's in this movie. Her father is an armorer, veteran armorer, Thel Reed. So she comes from a line of armorers, but somebody wasn't doing their job that day.
Did you just say she comes from a line of armorers?
Yeah. Father is a veteran armorer. So like she's been around this. Must have been. Anyways, fuck. That's sad. So all right. Let's finish up the sad talk with some. What are we watching? Anybody watch anything fun?
I watched The Long Halloween Part 1 and 2.
Oh, the animated adaptation on HBO Max. I started watching the first part and I didn't go back. What did you think of that? Is it good? Should we review it? Should we watch it?
I don't remember it being the same story, quite the same story.
They changed a lot.
Was the A Long Halloween all about Falcone?
Oh, like everybody was in there, I thought, but he was in it.
This was like all about Falcone.
Catwoman was in it and Scarecrow, right? I don't remember.
Yeah. So they leaned more into Falcone than the Joker and all the other things. But it was like the whole idea of murders happening on holidays,
like Calendar Man and shit.
Yeah, all of that was in there.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was fine. It was fine to watch. Watched it one night and then watch part 2 the other night. And that was fun.
All righty. Anthony, you watch anything?
I watched the Chappelle special. The last one.
The closer. Okay.
The closer, yeah. Enjoyed it.
Okay.
I thought it was very well done. I liked the message at the end. I feel like a lot of people that are hating on it probably haven't even watched it.
You got to watch that story at the end. It's crazy.
That story at the end is super touching.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. He has a way of crafting his jokes and his messages together. Like the way he combines some really kind of, it seems like very mean-spirited things, but then with an overall message that he wants to get across. I think he does it in such a unique way.
It's carefully written.
I think it's genius. I think he's a genius. Yeah, I think he's one of the greatest comics of our time. And what he's saying has more depth to it than just jokes.
He reminds me a lot of George Carlin. He's a genius of Carlin, and both in the sense that both of these guys do these sets, and it sounds so natural, like they're just coming up with this, but they're both so carefully written, carefully chosen words.
Why do you think that this has been taken to in the degree that it has, as this kind of, according to people think that it's a call to war or something? It's like
did you get that out of violence? Did you get that out of that, Anthony?
No, I didn't get that.
No, I don't think it's there.
I think it's there because first off, I think he has a very unique way of telling a story, and it's not always going to hit with every single person. You really have to be engaged in what he's saying the entire time and really be listening in. Also, he's not someone that's going to apologize, right? He's never going to. So, he's had a few specials already, and, people have gone after him, and he keeps just doubling down on it and keeps going back to it and keeps going back to it because that's who he is. He doesn't give a fuck about that kind of stuff. Like, he's going to tell the message that he wants to give, and there's a certain segment of society that wants people to feel ashamed about the things that they do and never be around. And he doesn't say sorry, and Netflix still hasn't pulled the plug on him. So I think there's a lot of like the anger that builds up is because they don't feel like they're winning. They don't feel like, and I'm not saying they like as in LGBTQ. I'm just whoever's mad doesn't feel like they're getting what they wanted out of this, which is him to be gone forever, and it's just not happening. So I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like it was very mean. I think the jokes can be taken at surface level, and if you just isolate the joke, it could be considered mean-spirited, but I think he makes fun of everybody in the same kind of tone.
Yeah.
And again, you have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think the joy for me to watch it was it was like almost like watching Jackass. It was like a person wading into shark infested waters and like poking at sharks. I'm like, oh my God, this is like watching like some Jackass shit. And so I thought it was thrilling in that way because I was like, whoa, this dude is like, no one does this shit anymore, really. We're not doing this anymore. And I think that's something that art has to be sometimes. Otherwise, you don't have Piss Christ, or you don't have, a canvas with your vagina blood on it, like, and hanging up. You do shit that no one understands or that some people might not like, but I've seen people do it in the name of art. And I think that that's what art is there for, So, whatever.
It's hilarious.
Art is also like kind of an expression in like alternate ways of communication, right? Instead of just using, your words or your actions, you kind of tell it in either a painting or a song, or in this case, a comedy special. Like he's telling his story in a different way that a lot of people aren't. Like, unless you watch a lot of comedy, you're not used to that kind of stuff. Yeah. You're not, especially these days, like to turn on a comedy special. Like, again, I was at Joe Coy.
Yeah.
And he was, making fun of different races and making fun of COVID. Like, you don't hear that stuff all that often unless you go to, like, you watch comedy specials, or you go to comics and you see a lot of stand up. Like, it's just very
like 12
jarring.
years old on the internet.
Right.
You're on Xbox Live playing something.
It's a jarring to hear that kind of stuff these days.
I mean, it's great that all of us are like put off by it. I mean, it shows that we've somewhat evolved in many ways, and questioning it. And then that's a kind of a big deal, right? Like something that you wouldn't bat an eyelash at, like maybe 10 years ago. Like you'd be like, shut the fuck up. Now it's just like, we gotta think about that.
Listen, art should be challenging and sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. And speaking of feeling uncomfortable, Curb Your Enthusiasm is back on the air.
Oh shit!
Season 11 has started. First episode aired last night.
I gotta check it out.
It's good. It wasn't the greatest episode, but it's a good start. And
it wasn't the Spite store good?
No, but I think it's getting there. There's a bunch of things they're setting up and a bunch of gags. It's a lot of people yelling at Larry, going, "You're a bad guy, Larry," and Larry just goes, "I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad." He yells that a lot throughout this episode. It's hilarious. So I can't wait to see where this goes. But JB Smoove, John Hamm is in the first episode. Leon's there. It's fucking great. And it will make you uncomfortable, whether you want it to or not.
I love Curb.
Also on Netflix, I don't know if anybody was watching that Lock and Key. I watched the first.
How was that first season?
It was all right. Season 2 came out. I don't even know if I'm that excited to watch it. I kind of forgot what happened. It was okay. Lost in Space is getting another season, though, Ruggs. I still love that show. Remember that show?
You like it?
I do like it. I liked it. We'll see what happens. But Lock and Key season 2.
It just became so formulaic for me. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. I was like, I can't stand the show anymore. I liked the first season a lot.
Lost in Space,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, that second season just kind of put me off of it. I felt like I was like wasting my time watching it. I was like, I know what's going to happen.
Well, it was the whole thing with the robot. I wanted to see what happened with the robot and the kids, but they're never going to, they put it in peril, but they're not going to die because they're the lead characters. But the stakes are always there. Anyways, that's stuff we're watching. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Share the show. Make sure you stay subscribed so you always get the show as soon as it comes out. Thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's a nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
I fucking loved it.
They didn't even get to that part.
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
Zach Tatarack.
Yeah, that's really good.
I really don't give a shit. Ben and Jesuit.
Jock and Nerd.